Today's another one of those days where I have an interview a little bit later in the afternoon. So a little slower start of the morning. I'm definitely not waking up at 4 a.m. when I have an interview around 12. So I'm taking it easy this morning, slower. I made the same breakfast, eggs, oatmeal, coffee as I usually do. Because I have off today from work, I'm gonna get a chill zone 2 bike ride in. I'm gonna hit the gym and I'm gonna hit the treadmill as well. This weekend I'm gonna go for some bigger, longer bike rides. Sunday's supposed to be in the 50s, so that's on the warmer side now. So I'm gonna try to do a long 50 to 60 mile bike ride on Sunday. Tomorrow, my friend Pat just got his first bike, so I'm gonna help him get situated with his bike, learn how to clip in, clip out, figure out what all the gear is that he needs, and just to get him accustomed to his bike so he can start his bike journey. A special guest who's been on these videos before just got their first bike also. Very excited for him to start his bike journey and to see where this goes. I already know where it goes, but it's exciting, and I'll leave that as a surprise for you. So today, a little bit of working out, a little bit of eating. Before my interview, after my interview, I'll give you my thoughts on how it went, and we'll see where the weekend takes us. I'm back home in Philly now. When I'm up in my surgery rotation, I'm subletting an apartment, so it's not my space. When I have interviews, I like to come back to my apartment because I have it all set up nicely. I use the camera as my webcam, connects right to the computer. So when things are virtual, because a lot of these interviews I've only had 2 in-person interviews out of all my interviews. So when things are virtual now, there's a couple of ways outside of your application and your actual interview for ways that you can stand out. And one of those is how you appear on camera. So that's camera quality, that's background, that's lighting, that's sound. And that doesn't necessarily mean go out and buy a camera, but it can mean make sure that your lighting is good, make sure your background is good. I purposely set up my background. It's just a living room in my apartment, but I turned my desk to face so the camera's facing the shelves in the back that show off my DIY helmet, cycling shoes, glasses, holder. So I've had a couple of interviews where they ask me what's that behind your camera? What's that behind your screen? And I'm like, oh, that's my cycling stuff, because I also have that in my application. So it's intentional, my background. And it's been asked a couple of times, the medal hanging in the back from Hotter in Hell, the cycling shoes, the helmet, and then that's brought up conversation from the people interviewing me, whether or not they bike ride, they've had friends that do these bike rides. So it's not necessarily all about the camera quality. That is important, because I notice when I'm in a screen with a bunch of different squares and people just have their laptop computers, there's a significant difference from using this camera. And you might not be aware, but you can use your phone as a camera too. You can use an iPhone as your desktop camera, and we know how good the quality is of iPhones today. So all you need is a little tripod that holds your phone up as your camera screen, and you can use your back phone camera as your zoom camera, and that'll also significantly increase the quality of your videos. You know, if you don't want to do that, they make 4K webcams you can buy on Amazon used. If you have a digital camera, you can use that also. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can make yourself stand out before you even say a word on camera. So it's something to consider, especially if you are in school, medical school, you're applying for jobs online, or if your work requires a lot of online presence with meetings, Zooms, whatever it may be. So it's something to consider and to look into.
The last rider is knocked out of the race.
This is the background I was telling you I made in my living room. I just turned my desk around from what it normally is when I'm in here studying to making this my background. So I usually have it zoomed in a little bit more, but I have it zoomed out just so you can see. I have these plants situated right behind me, so I'm in the center. I have my TV lights that are normally behind the TV that illuminate the wall. I set them to a dark orange. I like that look. It's subtle. It makes me pop out of the screen a little bit more. And then my cycling stuff that I told you about. It looks neat. You can't be having a lot of stuff in the background that doesn't look neat and organized. To me, this looks neat and organized. That's my opinion. So this provides another opportunity for somebody who wants to ask me something in my application that they saw, because I wrote about cycling a couple of times, so they can see now, oh, I read about cycling. He's got a helmet right there. He's got cycling shoes right there. Let me bring that up. And it really has led to some nice conversations from the various people who have interviewed me, because they have a significant background in cycling too. So when you can make that connection off something that I thoroughly enjoy, for you it could be something else. If you can put your special thing somehow neatly, intentionally behind you on screen, that just provides another opportunity for you to talk about that thing during an interview. So it's something to consider. I'll zoom it in a little bit so you can see what I try to really mimic when I have an interview. So this might be what it looks like when I'm actually interviewing. I have it more cropped and zoomed in, just my shoulders essentially to my head. So this is what it looks like. You can't see if my hands are moving around. I have them just placed on my desk. My chair's not moving around. A tip one of the residents gave me before one of my interviews was make sure you don't sit in a swivel chair. I only have a swivel desk chair, but I put my feet up on the legs to prevent me from swiveling around. If you're sitting there during the interview moving around a lot, that doesn't look good. So I make sure my hands are just on my desk, my feet are planted on the legs of the chair, and I'm not moving. I'm moving my hands. You can slightly see them move if I raise them up higher, but I'm somebody who likes to move my hands a lot when I talk, and you really can't tell that I'm doing that from the way this is cropped right now. So again, make your background you. You're unique. You have your own personal experiences. You have your own talents and hobbies. There's subtle ways to make that known and to provide an opportunity for you to talk about that during an interview. So just think about that. I have the natural lighting from windows facing me on this side right here. So again, it comes down to lighting. You know, I don't normally have my desks faced in the middle of my living room, but for these couple of weeks, these couple of months where I have interviews, I rearranged my apartment to fit the current needs of me for these interviews. It's not ideal having the desk in the middle of my living room. My TV, I don't have a TV in the living room anymore because it's on the floor behind everything. But for this period of time, for this season of interviews, it's not important. What's important is that I have this desk consistently set up. So it's just a plug in the camera, a plug in my laptop, and I'm good to go. And I'm sitting right here, close to the fridge so I can get water, to the bathroom I can run to in between interviews, and I'm good to go. So think about that next time it's your turn for an interview, or if you got interviews next year and the following years. I had one of those patient encounters last week that I'm going to remember forever. I was talking to the residents and they were telling me about one of their patients they had. It was a 14-year-old kid who got into a car accident with his friend and broke both of his legs pretty badly. He's been in the hospital for the past month. And the resident mentioned the possibility of getting a haircut. And he said that was the first time this patient had smiled in the last 30 days. So knowing that I used to cut hair in college to make a little bit of extra money, I'm always trimming and shaping up my beard and cutting my own hair. I found that very exciting as an opportunity. And I just said, hey, I'm happy to help you in that moment. When I got home later that night, that opportunity was something that I really wanted to do. So I texted the resident. I said, hey, if you want my help tomorrow, I'm more than happy to help you. So I was just putting it out there that I was genuinely interested in helping to do this for this patient. Because when I've been in the hospital, and I've been in the hospital 6 times, when my beard starts to grow out and my hair starts to grow out, you just don't feel like yourself. You're already in an uncomfortable environment. You're not feeling your best. And the last thing you want is you're not looking your best either. And people are constantly coming in and out of your room. Not that looks matter, because they absolutely don't in the hospital. But in terms of overall health and well-being, when you look good, you feel good. I truly believe that's part of healthcare. And that's why one of the first things that I ask my family or friends to bring me when I'm in the hospital is to bring my razor, so I can just at least shape up my beard and I can feel better about myself being in the hospital, being in that uncomfortable environment when you're already not feeling the best. So I happened to be down in the cafeteria before my case that I was scheduled to go into later in the day. I bumped into that resident and he said, hey, I'm about to finish up some paperwork and then go up to that patient to cut his hair. Do you want to join? I said, of course. I'm more than happy to. And I was really just going to be there to support the residents cutting this patient's hair, because it sounded like he was enthusiastic and he genuinely wanted to do it too. So we go up, we make sure we have permission from the patient's mom, because he's only 14. The resident is the one who brought his own trimmer with clipper guards with him. So it's not like this was a hospital supplied haircut. This was the resident bringing his own equipment to do the right thing for this patient, to just provide some happiness ultimately to this patient who's been in a pretty unfortunate situation. So we get up there, we use a gown to cover up the patient's front, like he's almost at the barber shop, using one of those gowns that they use to prevent hair from getting on your clothes. So the patient's in his wheelchair. We use a gown to cover up the front, like we're actually in a barber shop. We use a chuck on the floor to catch all the hair. And the resident starts cutting his hair. And a few minutes into the cut, the resident asked me, like, hey, Jory, what do you think? So I just happened to be like, oh, I would just do this or that. And he turned to me and said, hey, why don't you just do it? So then I start cutting the patient's hair. And I've cut hair. I cut my own hair every couple of weeks. I cut my beard every few days. So I'm used to doing this. And I'm just giving this 14-year-old kid a shape up and just edging up his corners. And I love doing it. To me, healthcare isn't always about what can you fix and what can you treat. In this moment, it was literally just about giving this kid a haircut to make him feel better. And the smile on his face was unforgettable. So the reason why I'm not going to forget this story is because as somebody who's aspiring to enter general surgery, I can't think of too many times where I'll have the opportunity just to cut my own patient's hair. So that's why this is going to be one of those stories that I'm going to remember forever, and going to be able to tell of one of those happy moments and unforgettable moments that I've had with a patient, because it wasn't about what could we fix or what could we do or what type of medication. It was simply about making him feel better, and that was from giving him a haircut. And the smile on his face, the joy, the wholesome moment that we all shared as a team with this patient, that was incredible. So it's not always about what you can fix, what you can prescribe, what you can do. It's just taking those few moments. It was maybe 30 minutes, the whole thing. It was taking that time when there was that time throughout the day. It's not like we weren't doing the necessary things that needed to be done. The residents had finished up the work that needed to be done in that moment, and there was some free time to go up there and do this. So I know it's something that the patient truly appreciated. I could see it on his face, his happiness. He was rolling down the hallway in his wheelchair right afterwards, just smiling and being so happy. So I'm just glad that I had that opportunity to make that patient's day, maybe make his month. And when you look good, you feel good, you're more willing to do the work with PT, OT, and if that could help him get out of the hospital any faster, then I'm glad I played some small part in that. Snack number 1 on the bike, granola bar. Snack number 2, applesauce. Will I be able to eat this while riding the bike? I'm just gonna put it in my mouth. I have a slower interval right now, 5-minute cool down. I'm doing a 3x10 working set bike ride in zone 2. So it's a 10-minute warm up, 10 minutes at 140, then 5 minutes at 105. I repeat that. So I have 30 minutes of total working time in zone 2. Then it bumps down to zone 1. And then it's a 5-minute cool down. The whole workout is 55 minutes. I took this workout from Zwift, from a Lionel Sanders workout. I just lowered the FTP a little bit from what they had. They had me at 160, but I want to have my heart rate in zone 2 also, not just my power. So I wanted to bump it down a little bit in 140. And as you can see, I'm still sweaty. I'm getting a good workout in. My heart rate is still at the upper end of zone 2, sometimes going to zone 3. But it's a nice 55-minute workout, consistent pushing on the pedals. So that's today's bike ride. Picked up lunch from Ricci's Hoagies, about 2 minutes away from where I live. If you know me, you know I love convenience, and you know I like a plain turkey sub. So that's exactly what I got. Simple, fast, consistent, healthy, fills me up. This is the interview setup. The natural light, the artificial light, and the camera. Now you can see how clear I look and how sharp I am on this camera, and really what the interview setup looks like and how professional it looks. So here we go. Here goes another interview.